Hey, it's Huck, and thanks for watching. As always, I hope you'll chime in with your comments as soon as I finish this short tirade. I gotta tell you, I am up to here with these pro-life advocates. All across the country, pro-life legislators are using every nefarious trick in the book to pass anti-abortion legislation into state law. Here in Ohio, Republicans added measures at the 11th hour to a budget bill that would close 14 of 18 abortion clinics in the state. These measures are also going to force invasive transvaginal ultrasound procedures on women. It's going to force doctors to actually lie to their patients about some absurd, non-existent risks of aborting their pregnancy. And they're going to defund Planned Parenthood, the only clinics in the state where hundreds of thousands of women seek free or subsidized cancer screenings and other women's health services. And in North Carolina, state lawmakers did much the same thing through an amendment to a motorcycle safety bill. And in Texas, amid the wholesale arrests of peaceful protesters, state lawmakers suspended all pretext of procedure to change the rules, limit dissent, and ramrod through laws that did much the same. Now, I'm old enough to remember what this country was like before Roe versus Wade. I remember many years ago on a camping trip that my family took with some relatives, when my 14-year-old cousin told me secretly that her parents had taken her out of the country to get an abortion after her 19-year-old secret boyfriend got her pregnant. Now, she was fortunate that her parents had the resources, barely, to do this. Many millions of others back in 1972 and prior were not so fortunate. They either took matters into their own hands, forcing miscarriages or seeking back alley solutions, or forever altering their life's path with this very demanding new responsibility. The types of programs we've implemented since 1972, welfare, SNAP and food stamps, Medicaid, other programs that have been designed to lessen the burden on poor or underage single mothers, well, those hardly existed in the days before Roe versus Wade. These people were on their own. Now, as it turns out, things worked out for this cousin of mine. She is now a college graduate with a great job. She's happily married, living in Texas, and the proud mother of several healthy kids who are now grown up and have kids of their own. But her life would have been dramatically different had she and her family gone through with that pregnancy back when she was in 9th grade. The fact is, the top reasons women choose abortion have not really changed that much since that time back in 1972 when my cousin was months away from the legalization of what she had done. For most folks, this difficult decision is based on finances. They're at a stage in their life where the money is just not there for this. In some cases, the woman is still in high school. In others, they have plans for college but limited ability to pay for that. And still others, well, maybe they were the victim of a youthful indiscretion and a partner who has no means or desire to support the resulting child. Another legitimate reason why some women choose to have an abortion is the knowledge that their fetus suffers some catastrophic malady. And whether it's the likelihood that this fetus cannot be carried to term alive, or that the costs and burdens associated for the care and health of this particular malady once born would be prohibitive. These are realities millions of us are not financially or emotionally equipped to deal with. It's wonderful that financially secure pro-life advocates like Sarah Palin and Rick Santorum with special needs children choose to bear that burden. But they ignore the reality that these fetal maladies can often be much, much worse. While it is a fact that these same financially secure advocates work just as tirelessly to cut or eliminate any and all food stamp, health care, and education assistance poorer folks would be dependent upon were they to carry their fetuses to full term. As the saying goes, pro-life advocates will stop at nothing to protect life in the womb, but once born, their attitude is sorry, you're on your own. And yet another reason women choose abortion is the reminder that the pregnancy came as the result of an unwanted sexual assault, rape, which is vastly underreported in this country, or worse, incest, or some other sexual exploitation. Every time I hear some pro-life nut rail about the rights of the unborn, I stop to think of the millions of children living under state protection in this country right now, under the care of children's services due to the abuse and neglect they received at home. I think of the millions of runaway children living in places like New York, Seattle, Los Angeles. And I think of little Miguel, last name unknown, a 10-year-old child in Brazil, who, along with scores, perhaps hundreds of other street kids in Brazil, where abortion is illegal, was brought by his mom from his little village somewhere in that country and abandoned on the streets of the capital to fend for himself. Miguel and his friends eked out their meager existence, stealing food from local shopkeepers, or selling sexual favors to the perverts who were about the only folks in the city ever happy to see them. And so it went for Miguel for 2 or 3 years, until local businessmen and some off-duty police conspired to secretly form units to remove these unwanted pests from their midst. They were bad for business. Death squads. Miguel's body and those of several others his age were later found buried a few miles from Brazil's capital city. He'd been taken sometime in the night, probably from wherever he and his friends found to sleep that evening, and they were exterminated, with no more compassion than the Orkin man feels when baiting traps for mice or cockroaches. You know, it's all good and fine to wax poetic about the sanctity of life, but it is hypocritical at best and horrific at worst to ignore the reality of what results from a life unloved, or a life these same pro-life folks take such umbrage at helping to support due to the resulting financial burden. Where are these pro-life advocates and Republican politicians who pass these outrageous anti-abortion laws when it comes to the sanctity of life in the hundreds of cases of death row inmates wrongly convicted? And where are these same pro-life advocates on the issue of stand your ground laws, which permits folks to murder kids like Trayvon Martin, who at worst may have been guilty of a misdemeanor assault charge, punishable by a fine, maybe a 90-day jail sentence? I have no patience for pro-life advocates, not at least until they step up to the plate and work just as feverishly to deal with the realities and share the burdens of what happens after pregnancy, until they begin recognizing the sanctity of life outside the womb. Lives like those wrongly convicted to lethal injection, or those brutally murdered by the saturation of guns in this country and laws designed to allow folks to shoot them with impunity. Until such time, pro-lifers, just shut the fuck up. I'm Huck. That's my opinion. I'll see you on Friday.